exercise useless when it comes to weight loss? And the reason why this topic came up is that Dennis was reading a book called, it was Burn, right, Dennis?
Burn, yes, by Herman Ponzer.
And he basically sent out a message to us saying, talking about his feedback. And then Gabe's like, dude, exercise is useless for weight loss or whatever. Perfect title. Let's get going. So let's dive right into that because I know we have a bunch of other stuff to talk about. Dennis, it's been a few weeks since I've seen you. For those of you who aren't watching this on a video, you have a damn nice background and ready to chat.
It's legit. Yeah, legit. Good to be here.
For the record, I didn't come up with anything. I took exactly what Dennis said and made it the title of the podcast. Like word for word, I took the Slack message and made it the title.
No way.
Well, then I came back and said, I'm not sure if useless is the right term to use here. It might be a bit extreme, but
you gotta stand by your words.
Well, okay, so I guess we can get right into it. I mean,
let's do it.
Yeah, so the guy, he's like a researcher. He studies human metabolism. Spent years specifically studying the Hadza hunter-gatherer tribe in Africa. And one of kind of the main finding of his research was that these hunter-gatherers who spend all day being incredibly active, obviously engaging in like tremendous amounts of physical activity. They're walking all day long. They're carrying things. They're hunting food. They're preparing food. They're almost never just sitting around doing nothing. What his research showed was that they actually expend the same amount of energy over the course of a day on average as someone who lives a sedentary lifestyle in an industrialized part of the world. So like your average American that just sits at a desk all day long, maybe doesn't even engage in exercise, expends the same amount of energy on average as these people who are incredibly physically active. And so what his conclusion was based off of that, I mean, first of all, he was obviously shocked at that finding, but then he came up with something that he called, I think, constrained daily energy expenditure. And it's just like a metabolic adaptation that has come about as a function of just survival over hundreds of thousands, millions of years of evolution to ensure that we never end up expending too much or too little energy, just so we have enough energy to support survival, metabolism, basic human functions. And so the body adapts. If you engage in a lot of physical activity, the body will adapt by expending less energy towards other activities or just become more efficient and not burn as much energy when you engage in those activities. If you engage in very little physical activity, it'll just allocate more energy towards normal metabolic functions and processes and expend more energy doing very little activity. And so we all just sort of have this baseline that we hover around on average, regardless of our activity level.
Can I ask a question really quickly, Dennis?
Yeah.
Was there a length of time that they studied these people to understand how long the adaptation was necessary to take place? Like, how long did you have to be doing a certain thing a certain way for your body to adapt itself to this baseline energy expenditure, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, and we can get into a little bit more of like the role of exercise.
How long does it take the body to find homeostasis, essentially, right? That's right. What I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question. I don't think it's like a very long amount of time though. And so like, for example, if you go from being totally sedentary to then starting to engage in regular activity, you're going to expend more energy in the short term, right? So whatever, you go from not exercising to all of a sudden going for a half-hour walk every day. There's going to be an uptick in your energy expenditure in the short term, and then your body will fairly quickly adapt to that and kind of find that homeostasis once again. And whether that's just through a higher baseline of energy expended every day, or just falling back into where it sat previously, just by expending less energy in the activity itself. So either way, I mean, and either way, you're talking about like a very small margin. Whether it's like you increase your baseline to burn a little bit more energy every day, or if you just go back to where you were previously, it's still like we're talking like a couple hundred calories. Like you're always going to fall within that range. Yeah. So to speak to the title of this podcast, like what his what his research and what his conclusion ultimately was with respect to like practical application is that the role of exercise in terms of weight loss is almost insignificant. And again, like to speak to the example we just gave, it might in the very short term lead to an increased energy expenditure that could then stimulate weight loss, just because you're now expending more than you're consuming, but your body is going to find a way to restore homeostasis to make up for it. And whether that's subconsciously through increased hunger drive and just a drive to eat more food to make up for the difference, or by again just sort of like falling back into that homeostasis.
Does he talk about the same kind of adaptation or the extent of it for the nutrition side of the equation? Because I mean, a lot of people say this, and I'm a big believer that this is true from the respect that, you can go from working out 40 minutes a day to an hour and a half a day, and that's by no means going to have the same impact as like cutting back a little bit on some of the foods you shouldn't be eating. Again, whether that's because of food quality or the calorie intake, that doesn't matter, but like that'll have a bigger impact for sure. So I've always been in the camp of maybe not working out is useless, obviously, and I know we just used that for the title, but it won't move the lever as much as nutritional choices. But I'm assuming, and I know that there's also an adaptation on the nutrition side, right? Like you can eat a lot less and you're going to try and get to that same point of homeostasis by reducing activity. So does he talk about that? And is that to the same kind of, amount of adaptation, any different, or is it not a focus of what he kind of was talking about?
Yeah, no. So his primary recommendation, if your goal is to lose weight, his primary recommendation is to focus almost exclusively on nutrition. Like he recognizes the benefits of exercise outside of just exclusively for weight loss, right? Sure. Like it's incredibly important. Yeah, I mean, he
that's what I wanted to ask here. We're just talking about pure weight loss. We're talking
strictly
about a
weight
number on a
loss.
scale. We're not talking about body composition. We're not talking about capability. We're not talking about fitness.
Health.
You're not talking about health. You're simply looking at a number on a scale and you're saying, did that number go up or down based on this energy expenditure hypothesis?
Right. And then but just to answer Gabe's question quick. So that within that context, his primary, almost exclusive recommendation is to create a caloric deficit through nutrition practices, like to focus exclusively on nutrition when you're trying to focus on weight loss. And that exercise will be, it's a tool to accomplish other things, but it's not going to be that important or necessary when it comes to losing weight.
I think one of the things that I understand the perspective here. I didn't read the book, but I kind of understand the perspective that's being taken on this. But one of the things that I have a little bit of a hard time with these kinds of conversations is the fact that I do think that your body becomes a more efficient machine when you're utilizing it when you're an active human being. I think the normal bodily functions, your normal functions happen more easily. I think that things like your metabolism, things like your resting heart rate, things like your circulation, things like muscle adaptation, all those things I think improve with activity. And I think that if we're pulling back and we're not just looking at weight loss, if we're not just saying, hey, I want to lose 5 pounds, and what's the best way to lose 5 pounds in the shortest amount of time, obviously restricting your food intake is going to be, a primary lever that you're going to pull there, right? But I'm talking in terms of overall health. I think that the title of this podcast obviously can be a little misleading.
It was Gabe's idea. It was Gabe's idea.
That's where we're.
I poo-pooed it, just to be clear.
That's I think where we're getting after is that the title is very, very misleading.
But I went back and I looked at our Slack message because I did want to see if Gabe just pulled out this out of thin air. And in his defense, he didn't. Dennis basically sends a message and he writes, in particular, the finding is that exercise is pretty much useless when it comes to weight loss. And then of course Gabe's like, perfect title, whatever, and then dives into it. But I think it's a really interesting conversation because I think the title is not implying hey, exercise is useless when it comes to hundreds of other things, right? It's simply talking about this weight loss component. And I don't know, I've conflicting views on this because it's like if you just ate the same and started running significantly more every day, I mean, I think you'd also start having weight loss. I think that if you start exercising and building muscle density, I think you're going to burn more calories throughout the day. So I think you're also going to have weight loss. And but I get the whole point.
But there is
create adaptation over time.
Right. But what's going to happen is you're going to eat more food. That's it. Eventually you're going to make up for that increased expenditure or increased muscle mass or increased metabolism that you gain through exercise by eating more food. And you think you can like white knuckle it and just, no, I can just continue to eat 2,000 calories and continue to burn more and I'm going to lose weight. You're going to subconsciously find a way to increase the amount of food that you intake because it's a survival mechanism. Like you're literally fighting against millions of years of evolution, and thinking that you can just like willpower your way through that you can do it very short term. So you can see a benefit. I don't have an exact time frame. Call it a couple weeks. I don't know. Call it a month, even maybe a couple months if you're super disciplined about it. But eventually, you're going to make up for the increased expenditure by increasing your food intake. Your brain is controlling that process. It's subconsciously. You have, as disciplined as you might be, eventually it's going to balance out.
I think one of the
it's like I know it's like telling. I can see the look on everyone's face. It's like telling people the sky is green. It's like, but this is like well researched and well documented, and anecdotally, you see it. I've seen it a million times over the course of my 20-year+ career in fitness, where people can make these short-term changes and they can lose weight. Say you do a 30-day challenge, right? And you see these people that have these tremendous transformations, and then you see them 3, 6, 9, 12 months later, and they fell right back to where they were. That's not a lack of willpower and discipline driving that. It's
I don't know about that.
You're
talking about you're doing a 30-day challenge. People are typically more dialed in during those 30 days, and then they fall off. Of course, because that's a lack of discipline in terms of holding that standard.
No, because it's an
unsustainable. What are you shaking your head for?
It's completely.
Hold on. This is important. This is important. Don't shake your head. I've been in the fitness industry just as long as you guys. I've seen this behavior. It's the same behavior. What am I saying that's wrong here? That during the 30-day challenge, somebody's locking in with an extreme amount of discipline, and then that discipline falls off, and they return to where they were at. How is that a shaking head moment? I don't understand.
Because go ahead.
Because what?
Because they're locking into something that isn't sustainable. Like it isn't.
For sure, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, but it's not sustainable. So for me, at least how I'm hearing it, maybe you're saying it differently. To me, like discipline is something that I am disciplined enough to do from here in perpetuity. Because I'm a disciplined person.
But that wasn't the example that Dennis brought up.
But
the example that Dennis brought up was, I've seen people do 30-day challenges, and then 3, 6 months, weeks later, they fell off. That's the example he brought up.
Well, 3, 6 months, they go right back to where they were. And I think that what in large part explains that is the fact that the body, at some point, when like the psychological, like, hey, this challenge is over, it has to go back to homeostasis. It's like stretching a rubber band. And at some point, it just has to go back. Like it has to.
I don't know about that. What about people that adapt these lifestyle changes?
That's what the whole
continuing onward.
But that's what all the research in the book like supports. And I'm just saying that I too have seen it in real life. And I think that where a lot of the fitness injury falls short is not recognizing that this isn't just like a pure willpower discipline issue at the end. This is a structural, like doing something that isn't sustainable, and then the body just fighting back because that's what it's going to do to survive. So it's inevitable that that's going to come back if you do something that is, like Dennis is saying, like the research says, just kind of pushing, calorie expenditure up past the point that is sustainable moving forward. You have to do this in very incremental steps. And I think that in many chances, in many these challenges that we talked to, that's not done in incremental steps. It's done in a jump too far.
I don't know. In particular, I don't know if I agree with this line of reasoning. I just think that if we're being specific, you're going to bring up a specific example of somebody who does a 30-day challenge, and then we're going to say 3, 6, whatever weeks later they've fallen off. First of all, we should be a little bit more specific about what we're talking about there, because I think that that's misleading to say that, oh, those people exclusively fell off because their body figured out homeostasis. We don't know. We don't know whether or not the day the challenge ended, they went back and they ratcheted right back up to whatever. That to me is hard to have this discussion. I understand that if the premise of this book, or the what Dennis is kind of coming across with saying here, is that the most effective way to reduce one thing, weight loss, is to control your nutrition, right? That's what we're saying here. But we're not looking at other factors, including, like we had all mentioned before, these other things that obviously exercise helps promote. So I just don't understand, like, you say 30-day challenge, people have ratcheted up activity, they make changes in their nutrition. Who knows what the 30-day challenge was, but how can you shake your head and be like, oh, they fell off because of homeostasis? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, Gabe. It doesn't make any, you're shaking your head, yes, but it makes no sense.
I mean, we can just disagree, but that's exactly what the premise of the book is, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It's if you spend 30 days...
It makes no sense, Gabe. It makes no sense. The argument that you're bringing makes no sense because you don't know what the 30-day challenge was. You don't know what the individual was.
Sure, I mean...
I wouldn't get too wrapped around this specific
example. But I'm saying
example.
this is important because you're referencing things that when we're broadcasting a podcast here and you're saying that people do 30-day challenges, and I've seen it over the years and years and years of my career that they fall off, and it's because of the homeostasis effect that they fell off.
Well,
I don't think we could say that. I think that's a bridge too far.
So generally speaking, I've also seen that in my experience. So I agree with Dennis, and I agree with the premise in the book being a big part of why a bunch of people take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back with some of this stuff. 100%. We can agree to disagree. That's fine.
Just breaking this down. So real quick, if we talk about homeostasis, just to kind of summarize. So first off, when it comes to the challenges that I'm all about, I think that they lead to some tremendous lifestyle adjustments that I do think for the long term. But I totally get what, like, these hardcore 30-day challenges, they are changing your homeostasis, not in terms of like just like your caloric intake, but like everything. But like if you're having a hardcore one, it is a dramatic change, and I could see why people, bounce back to where they were. But Dennis, just on the book, because we're talking about this, so is the recommendation then, if they're saying, hey, if you're purely looking for fat loss, right, or weight loss, excuse me, like the recommendation is purely nutrition, but obviously, okay, where does muscle density play into that then, Dennis? So like, let's just say you're like, all right, I'm gonna dial in my nutrition, I'm gonna lose weight, but I'm just gonna look a certain way that's not what I want to look like, and then I'm gonna go ahead and increase my muscle density so I can look the way I want. But that allows me, so you're saying you're going to consume, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, from the book's perspective, all they were trying to get across is that your body adapts to the workload that it's doing, and that nutrition becomes the number one factor. That's like the main takeaway of the book.
Yes.
And then on the flip side is, okay, right, got that, but now how about health, longevity, muscle density, all these type of things that play into why exercise is so incredibly valuable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And in so much as, like he's not suggesting, like he in no way ever comes across suggesting that exercise is not play an important role in health, and that it can be a tool, and it should be a tool utilized in a weight loss program. But you have to understand that the second that you introduce exercise into the equation, you're asking your body to increase its energy expenditure, and that your body is then going to find a way to make up for that increased energy expenditure by demanding more food. And in so much as you have the discipline and willpower to control that, you potentially can still maintain a caloric deficit. But it's increasingly difficult to do so long term, and that's what the research shows. So yes, you still need to create a caloric deficit. He still promotes the idea. He actually, and this is another part of the conversation that we can get into next, is he actually doesn't even recommend counting calories to do that. He recommends taking a very just like whole food based, nutrient dense food based, like hunger driven perspective on it, rather than necessarily trying to count calories, because the research also suggests that counting calories doesn't work long term either, because you're dealing with like this moving target based on the idea that as you change your your own expenditure, your body just sort of like, I mean, it's always going to hover around the same range, but it's going to be up and down over the course of a given day and a week and things like that. So, so yeah, but in so much as like exercising, for example, resistance training will increase muscle mass. Increased muscle mass will increase your basal metabolic rate, and that's going to be like the number one driver of the energy you expend on a given day. So like he's not discounting the importance of those things. But if you basically what he's speaking directly to is this idea that like I'm going to go work out to burn X number of calories, and that's going to create this deficit if I just keep my food intake the same. It just doesn't work. The body adapts accordingly to ensure that it can survive.
Well, what would the adaptation be there? Would it be an adaptation that the body is making, or is it an adaptation of demand? Is the body going to say, "Hey, you need more food now"? Because then that's an action taken, right? That's not the body creating more calories for you. That's the human being inputting more calories into their body. Right?
Wait, I'm not sure I understand.
So you were saying that when you work out, you have an energy expenditure and you burn more calories, right?
Right.
You're saying that the body, in that scenario, if nothing changed with the nutrition intake, what would happen? The body would find a homeostasis with a lower and with a higher energy expenditure.
No,
it depends on, well, I mean, there's a couple things. It depends on what kind of deficit you're creating. So if you're creating this very, very small deficit that's sustainable, then the body can kind of like maintain that. If you're creating too big of a deficit, it's going to adapt by expending less energy towards other physiological processes and activities. It's going to like figure out a way to make you lazy, like to like decrease your metabolism, decrease your energy expenditure in other activities if you engage in a lot of exercise. Like if you
how many calories are you talking about there that the body's going to adapt for?
Well, you burn the majority of your calories just by how fidgety you are, like how much you blink during the day, immune function. There's so many things that it's very difficult for people to realize get significantly down-regulated if you are white-knuckling a deficit and continuing activity very high. And because that's such a big percentage, you can actually go back to homeostasis just by doing all those things that you don't even realize. Like people go from being like very fidgety people, like constantly bouncing their leg, blinking all the time, like big facial expressions, talking with their hands, to not doing that all the time. The difference in calorie expenditure just based off those two things that unless you were really paying attention to it, you wouldn't notice, no one else would notice. You'd be like, hey, my watch says the same steps, I'm doing exactly the same amount of cardio, I'm doing the same amount of training days, but you're actually expending, you know, I don't think it's wild to say like 300, 400 calories per day. Can we look that up?
Can we look up what the normal resting activity burning calories would be?
So like if you look at like just, you know, an average
I think it's,
person,
I think it's like over 70 to 80% of your daily
your daily, right? And again, a big chunk of that is your resting metabolic rate, which is like just you surviving. That's kind of not what we're talking about. A lot of people also confuse this like non-exercise activity NEAT. That's what I talk about with like all this like fidgeting and stuff. Some people say that like, hey, I'm walking more, so I'm increasing my NEAT. That's not NEAT. That's like, you know, you actually are exercising by going out and doing more steps. NEAT is what kind of encapsulates all of this, like just how much you move, facial expressions, blinking, all that stuff, that it's very easy to underestimate the impact that has on your day. And
so you're saying that your definition of non-exercise activity is exclusively human functions that don't involve activity?
What do you mean?
Like your definition of non-exercise activity is blinking and sitting on the couch and just your normal functions, breathing.
The people that I generally
not
like
walking,
really,
not doing tasks, not moving around. That you don't include that in non-exercise activity.
No, because if you're like intentionally doing it to get movement in,
no. I'm talking about being a normal human being. I'm talking about just doing, because human beings aren't sedentary individuals.
Sure,
they're not made to just sleep and sit down all day. So I want to be really clear about what we're saying your definition of NEAT is. Non-exercise activity is exclusively the sitting and bouncing your leg and blinking your eyes and breathing and normal bodily functions, or is it going about your everyday life, moving around, being an active human being.
Well, I think that there's a little bit of overlap there in that, like, even if you're going around doing, normal human things, you'll do it with a different amount of energy and vigor if you're not in a big deficit, right? Like, you can go around and clean up your house, like dragging and doing the bare minimum, or you can go around not even realize that, like, the music's playing and you're like moving a little bit. Like, those are the kind of differences that apply to NEAT. What I'm saying gets confused, I think, a lot. To categorize as NEAT and really isn't, is like, hey, I'm gonna take 15K steps a day to increase my NEAT. It's like, no, you're walking. Like, you're doing more walking, you're doing more exercise, you're doing more activity. You're intentionally trying to do something that's like boosting exercise, even though walking some people might not consider exercise. So I think that there's nuance to the difference, but that's the difference there.
Interesting. I just want to be clear, this is your definition, or this is like an accepted definition, or?
I mean, I think that, like, with all things nutrition, like, you go out there and talk to like 10 nutrition people, they'll give you 10 different answers, but that's what I think is the most useful. Like, when I talk to guys about it and talk about, like, hey, what levers can we pull to reach your goals? That's how I like to, like, cleanly categorize them for people, because I think it makes it a little bit black and white to understand.
Dennis, bringing it home and kind of to the book and kind of moving forward.
No way. We're staying the whole hour on this.
No, the recommendation. So I think the eye-opening idea is the concept was your body adapts, etc. And I think that, but for his perspective, right? Let's just take that tribe that they have in Africa. What do you think would happen if they started incorporating some form of strength training and like bodybuilding into what they're doing? I mean, obviously they would just require more food intake, but like, I guess I'm trying to see how that relates to someone who's listening, myself in particular, like this book and for me. And I think the main factor is, hey, when you want to start a quote unquote weight loss journey, you have to address the food. But I think that there's obviously a way where, at least in the beginning, if you just start exercising, you keep everything else the way it is for a while, is what I'm hearing, you should obviously see results. Then eventually your body may create some adaptation and then it won't adapt as well. That's like the premise.
Yes. Yeah. You can. Yeah. Well, it's very short term. You can say a while, but it's a while makes it almost seem like that could be like months. It's not. It's less than that.
Because you purely weight loss. Like you take, for example, like DC. I've been working with him every day, and he's been consistent in his workouts every day for the first time in 5 years. So he is seeing some weight loss, but I think more than anything, he's seeing obviously body composition changes. I think he's seeing like mindset and obviously like mental clarity, all those type of things tremendously. So there's all these other things that obviously come into play, but you brought to the table purely just weight loss. So
purely weight loss.
I get it, man. I get it. I mean, it sounds like a book that I want to go check out, just mainly because it's just really interesting to look at adaptation, look at how over so many years, I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's like, dude, I just think we've gotten way too wrapped up in modern day exercise, and that like we're forgetting about the fundamentals of old school and like getting sunlight, touching the ground, doing this, doing that. And so that's kind of in line with that, I guess, in some way.
Yeah. Can I just make one more point on it before we move on?
You can make as many points as you want.
No, I think it's interesting too. He also speaks to the research of like what kind of dietary strategies would work best to promote weight loss. And he says like it's all over the map. It's like whatever is sustainable for somebody is the right choice. So he cites examples of like the guy that went on the Twinkie diet and basically just ate Twinkies for like X amount of months or something like that. But he was in a caloric deficit. It was sustainable for him and he lost weight. There's examples of like people that go carnivore or keto and only eat fat and protein, and they'll have the same types of results and they feel great and they're creating a caloric deficit and they're able to sustain it. And then there's people that have a mixed approach, obviously, people that will have a balanced approach between the macronutrients. There'll be people that eat meat, that don't eat meat. There'll be people. It's all over the map, and ultimately, there's no one strategy that's best across the board. It's really just whatever is sustainable for somebody. So
what was the argument in the book, if it addressed this at all? Like, why are people so fat? Why are people so fat?
We're eating too much food.
Why haven't they found homeostasis? Why hasn't their body found homeostasis at some point?
Because they're eating too much food.
Okay. So the body won't find homeostasis there then, right? Or does it?
No, well, you can. So homeostasis is not the right word. Anyway,
Or what are we looking for? The body will find an energy expenditure, a similar energy expenditure, no matter how much you're eating.
But I think the obvious difference there, no, it's not no matter what you're eating. It's if you're in a deficit, your body's like, we are dying and you need to eat more to survive. If you're in a surplus, your body's like, great, let's store this energy for times of famine.
Yeah, the chips
create a lot of fat. Like it's
the chips are against us in terms of what you're trying to create, right? Like from an evolutionary perspective, there's benefit to storing fat.
Yeah.
There's no benefit to reducing fat and getting lean from a survival perspective. At least to a certain extent.
Hardwired for there to be not enough food.
Right.
Well, yeah. I think I can understand that, but you don't think that there's an evolutionary benefit to being fast and agile and muscular and moving around and surviving that way?
No, there is, but there's a limit to how lean
survival of the fittest doesn't.
Well, there's a limit to how lean someone would need to be
For sure.
to be healthy and be able to survive and do all those things.
I mean, I'm taking a little bit of a contrarian approach on this on purpose because
but
I also think that it's super misleading. I also think it's super misleading. I think that this is not what we're after at all. As a group of people who are involved in Train Hard, I mean, like this is something that I think, I don't want to say flies in the face of what we do, but like we want men to be physically active, to be strong, to be capable, to be people who can go out there and do all these things. And maybe you're not saying that they shouldn't do that at all, but exercise is clearly not useless in terms of maintaining a healthy, well-muscled physique.
No,
which is what we want.
It's useless in terms of weight loss.
Maybe.
Read the book. It's not an opinion. This is not opinion. It's well researched and documented.
Yeah, you can find one well researched and documented case for that, and then you could probably find.
Yeah, but this is like meta. This is meta analysis. This is not
the book that changes everything for everybody.
No, but this is not. This is not just one guy doing one study. He's analyzing his own research was the catalyst to then look at all the research. So the book is basically a meta-analysis of all the studies and research that have ever been done on this subject, and he's just summarizing it and come to these conclusions. So yeah. I mean, that's why I said that the title of the podcast makes it sound as though we're saying exercise is useless. It's not at all, for every other reason that we talked about.
Gabe had enough.
We lost Gabe. Gabe's like, dude, I'm out on this conversation. Look, obviously, I firmly believe in exercise. I just got done doing an hour-long thing for like pediatric cancer, and I believe that I'm going to get phenomenal adaptation from that, mentally, physically, getting stronger, being more capable, all the things. And I think most people that listen to this podcast are like, yeah, hell yeah, I agree with that. And I think you're just bringing to the table this concept of the role that nutrition starts to play. So I get it, man. I get it. Yeah, dude.
You're going to be starving the rest of the day after doing all that exercise, just so you know.
Dude, I did an hour of the way this was. So a buddy of mine, he hosts a fundraiser for pediatric cancer that's 24 hours long, and you do it in teams of 5. And I've participated in it before, but I couldn't this year. And so I did an hour on my own. And the way they do it is they do an EMOM of air squats, box step-ups, and kettlebell swings. And you just pick your number. And you did 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. That's what I did earlier today, kind of support what they have going on. Matt Olson, actually, he's one of the guys in the Train Hard. He'll be in the app all the time, but he's hosting that. What's up, Gabe? Welcome back.
Awesome.
Now I can't hear you, but that's okay. It's all good. Hey, just got to switch out your microphone. It'll be all good. Dennis, tell us what's been up with you, man. Where you been? We haven't seen you in like weeks.
I know. Well, my son
like in camp.
My son does hockey camp over the summer. I signed him up for a hockey camp. It's every day, Monday through Friday. It's 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So to get on here, I just get squeezed a little too tight in the midday to be able to get on here with you guys and get him over there on time. So yeah, I made that commitment.
How long is the camp?
It's 3 hours. It's 1 to 4 every day.
For the summer?
For the summer, yeah. It's 9 weeks. It's like every single week, the entire summer.
It's nine weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
I mean,
that's
you could,
crazy.
yeah, you could like pick and choose if you wanted to do less, whatever, a couple days a week or just 1 week off, 1 week on. But we're we're committing to like to 7 weeks of it in a row for 5 days a week.
So have you already seen a dramatic change in your son? Because I'm fascinated with youth sports and adaptation back
Yeah.
to your whole, nothing to do with the book, but just the
How
word
much of his
adaptation.
eating has increased over this activity?
Case in
found
point, dude.
homeostasis?
Case in point. He's ravenous.
Yeah. But no, seriously, spending 3 hours of dedicated time a day for 7 weeks. I mean, have you seen a dramatic change? I mean, it's just, we talk about this a lot, but it's like, dude, I'm telling you, exposure, especially for, for youth, dude, it's a game changer, just the impact they can make on them. So yeah, man, I'm stoked he's in the camp. I hope he thrives in hockey. I know nothing about hockey, but I think it's a badass sport.
It's the best. I mean, there's two parts to it. Like just the amount of time under tension, like the reps and the practice. Obviously, he like the learning curve is crazy just to see how much better he gets at certain skills so quickly. But then being around other players that are better than him, that's probably been the biggest difference because the program that he's enrolled in, he's like one of the better kids that he normally plays with. So he's not really pushed in that regard. But at this camp, there's kids that are really, really, really good. And he's paired along with kids that are like maybe a little bigger and a little older than him that have like maybe a little bit more advanced skill set. And so to be able to have to figure out ways to keep up with them and just like learn it on the fly has been crazy to watch. I mean, you like within 5 minutes of a drill, you'll see the improvement right in front of your eyes. It's wild. It's so cool. And hockey is so cool because there's so many different skills that they're simultaneously working on developing and practicing. Like every drill has multiple facets to it. Like whether it's the skating or the stick work or the vision or the awareness, like there's just and to see all of that, all of those things improve simultaneously is crazy. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I've been, Ava's getting into water polo, and that's been super fascinating to watch. I mean, water polo is a very unique sport. I don't know that much about it, but just watching how over time the skill can develop and then being exposed to people that are doing it at a high level and how you kind of rise the occasion, dude, it's beautiful. I want more kids doing that kind of stuff.
It's awesome.
James Hobart famously in his CrossFit career, he's training at CrossFit New England for a really long time and then went down and lived in Cookeville, Tennessee for a while. And when he joined CrossFit Mayhem training with Rich and the whole team down there, he attributes a lot of the big ratcheting up of his levels of fitness to just simply training with people who were better than him. James was a big fish in a smaller pond up here in the northeast of New England, and then went down to Cookeville and had started putting up numbers that he had never seen before.
Dude, I mean, it's like Neil Maddox. Dude, Neil Maddox was like the best training partner I could possibly ask for. That guy was insane. And all you do is like every day I would go to a training session every day. And for the most part, he would kick my ass. And it just would be like, dude, I got to keep leveling up, got to keep leveling up, got to keep leveling up. You don't get this false impression of how good you are. Like you just keep chasing. And I think that's what that dynamic does. I mean, in some ways, the men's club is kind of like that. In some ways, jiu-jitsu is like that. In some ways, it's like you're surrounded by these people that are help elevating you. That I think they show you what's possible, right? Like you think that you're here, and then all of a sudden your son goes to this hockey camp. It's like, oh, okay. Like there's more to this. You know what I mean? I love it.
I mean, leveling up. There's a lot of memes and stuff about this, but it's like if you want to level up, change the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life, right? Like elevate the people that you spend time with, and you'll elevate yourself. It's or elevate the quality of the person who you're spending time with, and you can elevate yourself pretty easily.
Yeah, that and to the coaching, like there's a stark contrast between the level of coaching he's getting, and not so much from like a knowledge standpoint, but just like a caring and commitment standpoint. Like the guys at this camp are like really committed to helping these kids across the board. And there's a bunch of them. There's one guy that kind of runs it, and he's got a bunch of assistant coaches that are all like college age, but they're all like way into helping these kids and like really instructing them and really like paying attention the entire time and staying focused. And like at the program that he's normally enrolled in, they're nice guys, and I'm sure they know their stuff. but they're kind of just going through the motions, these guys, and he's learned a little bit from them, but he's learned more in 2.5 weeks at this other camp than he did in like 2 years at this other program. So that makes a big difference too. The right coach.
Can you guys hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
Let's go. I have to go to the computer audio. How involved are you, Den? Like every practice, you're there. I'm curious because there's such a spectrum, right? And so many pros and cons to being like there every practice. But does that support? Is that pressure? Are you like giving little pointers? Like how have you approached that?
Yeah, no, I stuck around. I mean, listen. First of all, I know nothing about hockey, so I'm not one to be able to help him out. So in a way, that's probably good, right? And so no, I stuck around for the first session just to kind of see the mechanics of it, how it was going to work, make sure he was good to go, and then now I'll normally just drop him off. I'll take off for the first couple hours of it, and then come back and watch like the last hour. The last hour is pretty cool. They just like finish up their drills and then they scrimmage, so that's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand too, like travel baseball versus like, because you have people who are like semi-pro, they're pro-level coaches, and now they're coming down and they're helping, and they're getting compensated and whatnot. It makes a huge difference, and like, I mean, I'm seeing it firsthand with baseball, and now hopefully with water polo too. That's going to be at the high school level. I have no idea what to expect from that, but.
Yeah, I remember reading this. I shared it with Jason. I shared this with you a bunch of podcasts before, and it stuck in my head. I'll never forget. And we're still, pretty far away from Shay being involved in youth sports, but it's going to be like my North Star. It's like your kids can either be excited to play or afraid to mess up because of how you are as a dad. And like, that to me is everything, man. Like, as long as you're just supporting and like making sure they're having fun and being present, but never being like, this like ominous, like, hey, you gotta perform to a certain way. So I remember that was something that really, really was powerful.
Did you guys see Shane Gillis's monologue at the ESPYs? Not to change the subject.
So good.
I went to Shane Gillis his show.
You went? Oh, you went to his show? You saw him live?
Yeah, I went and saw him live at the SAP Center because one of the guys, the men's club, was like, "Hey, I have tickets to this. You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Awesome.
Dude, he's
probably the hottest comedian in the world right now, or one of them for sure. He's
so good.
He was
incredibly
hilarious.
funny.
He was hilarious.
Incredibly funny. But he did a joke that's getting a lot of eyes on social media right now, where during his monologue he was like calling different athletes out, kind of poking fun at them a little bit. He called out SGA, who's one of the top. He won the MVP this year in the NBA, and he called out the people sitting around him for being in foul trouble, and the crowd didn't really react to it. But then he had a joke in which his friend Matt McClusker, I guess, is married to a black woman, and she was sitting next to him, and he called her out. I forget her name. It was like something Hicks. And he was like, Brittany Hicks is here. The four-time WNBA All-Star or MVP is here. And then everybody claps. And he's like, I can't believe you guys clapped for that. That's just my wife's friend. I knew you didn't know WNBA players. And it was pretty funny. Pretty funny. The whole thing. He did a really good job with it.
Dude, he had 3 openers when we saw him in San Jose, and they definitely like skirted the line. The first guy was pretty funny. Second guy was terrible. Third guy was really funny. And then he comes on, dude, and he's definitely, Ashley said it best. He's like, it's kind of more geared towards, at least for me, the stories that he told on that night were a little bit more for like men. The way because he shared some like super funny stories, but they were really like relatable for a guy. I don't think they'd be as relatable for a woman, but dude, they left nothing on the table. I mean, they hit the race factor, they hit everything, and their whole like basically shtick, the whole show was like, all this stuff is back. We're allowed to do these things. It'll be okay. And dude, they went. It was cool to watch a stadium of 50,000 people or whatever just laugh at some jokes that of course were a little bit off color and maybe not 100% appropriate, but just everybody knew like they were in that setting, just having a good time. It was nice to watch.
The culture is shifting, man, and it's a good thing. ESPN is owned by Disney. Like Disney put him up to host, their award show. I think it says something, and I think that overall it's a step in the right direction, man. Like we should just be able to laugh at this stuff and recognize what's a joke and what isn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedians will kind of live and die by the everything is funny or nothing is funny axiom type of deal, where you have to be able to. And I think throughout human history too, like, let's take a step back. Like we've probably been laughing and making light of really hard and difficult things the entirety of human history, because it's kind of like a coping mechanism to deal with really heavy, troubling shit, is to be able to, yes, not only deal with it from a sociological perspective and, you know, a personal perspective, but then also be able to joke about some of the stuff that you're struggling with. I think adds some levity to it, doesn't make it feel so heavy all the time. And I appreciated Shane's monologue a whole lot. I thought that not only from a sports fan's perspective, he nailed it, but like he got some jokes in there that I think other comedians wouldn't have been able to land. And I thought he did a really good job.
Dude, his storytelling ability is incredible. He told a story about this every year when he was in, like, every year he'd go to like this camp, and the way he like had this dramatic pause, like let it flow, like, dude, it was incredible. By the time he got to the punchline, people were just like, oh, tell me about what happened with this thing with Coldplay, because Dennis and we don't really consume, or at least I don't know anything that's going on. I don't, especially
you're way better
like
off.
pop culture. Like, I don't consume any of it. I don't know any of it. So tell me about this Coldplay thing, because I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, so this is live at a Coldplay show. I guess Chris Martin, who's the lead singer of Coldplay, during one of their more famous love songs, I guess that there's a camera that goes around the crowd and highlights people that are...
It's a kiss cam, like at sports camps. Yeah.
Being romantic. And they happen to highlight these two people who I don't know their names, but one of them is the CEO of a company called Astronomer, and then the other is the chief people officer, the head of HR. And it looks like they're in a booth with a lot of the other employees. Oh. That's the other thing. It's like an open secret because there's other employees around.
Yeah.
So they got caught on the kiss cam, and Chris Martin calls it out right away, where he says they're either having an affair or they're just being very shy. And it looks like
they're both married with kids.
Yeah, it looks like it was the former. And I heard that there was also, Chris Martin got on the mic and said, "Hey, please don't share this." I think that there was something that Chris did after the camera caught those people who said, "Hey, don't share this clip." But
yeah, good luck.
It's all over everywhere. It's all over everywhere. And the joke that's being kind of told right now is the fact that, like, I would rather be caught. I'd rather be caught cheating than be caught at a Coldplay concert, which is just a joke. I like Coldplay, but
wait, so the kiss cam's going around, right, or whatever it is, and then these people are like in a suite.
Yeah, I think they're in a suite with other employees.
But dude,
that's my take on it.
But see, that part also boggles my mind too, bro. Like, how are you going to be the CEO and the HR person? Obviously, people at the company know you're married. I imagine. I could be wrong. And you're like kind of like lovey-dovey, whatever. It's like, I mean, dude, if you're down to be in front of your peers and doing that, then I guess you could just be on the kiss cam. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sounds like you're asking to be caught to me.
This is a classic example of fucking around and finding out really quick.
Yeah, for sure.
The statement is so classic. So Liz pulled it up. The best part of the statement is the fact that he like blamed Coldplay for it. Like, he apologized. It's like whatever PR apology, but he says, "I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent."
Listen, buddy. Hold on.
Wait, let me. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope we can all think more deeply about the impact of someone else's life into a spectacle.
Yeah. So first of all, I think when you buy tickets, you're signing a contract. It's actually a contract when you buy a ticket somewhere that your face and your likeness, and in most scenarios, your face, your image, your likeness can be utilized. So this dude, as CEO, the other thing I was about to think about with this is, like, just because status or title confer something on you doesn't mean that you're smart. And this is obviously another example of doing something really stupid and then getting caught. And then the statement is horrible. The statement's terrible.
Why would you finish off that saying like, oh, you know, I didn't give my bro, you're at a public event and it's like a kiss. Dude, they've been doing this for generations. Like, you go to a Sharks game, they're gonna go around, and if you don't want to be that guy, then, like, dude,
don't
you
show
be
up.
doing shady shit. Yeah, like, don't be doing shady stuff, and you don't have to worry about getting in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, but again, the fascinating part here, and I don't know anything about this, so I'm gonna go look at it now, is you have all these people that are complacent with that style of behavior.
The other employees celebrating on the kiss cam is really interesting. They get in front of it, they throw up their hands, they're laughing and smiling.
Yeah, but they're laughing and smiling while the CEO, who clearly has a wife and whatever, is like being all whatever over this other girl. Like,
hiding underneath the railing.
Oh, this is the daughter. Liz mentioned this before. Like, apparently the daughter's now posting about it too. But anyway.
Social media star. Look, 753,000
I mean, would you
views.
say that the way that they were like doing that and the way that he reacted clearly says that he was having an affair? Like it's like blatantly obvious. Would you say?
Well, the funny thing about this is if they had not reacted at all,
right.
it probably wouldn't have even made any news whatsoever. How many kiss cams happen all the time that nobody ever sees or hears of, right? But the reaction obviously is what got the whole
Well,
crowd
he went
going.
all in. I mean, bro, he like dove off the stage.
Yeah, I don't know where he went, man. His
so
natural
bad.
reaction to hide and cower came into the equation right
Oh
away.
my God, ridiculous.
I mean,
And then she went and turned her back and got hugs or whatever.
Oh man, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I think there's obviously a bigger message here, but it's still funny and it's not funny. It's probably going to hurt some relationships. It's probably going to cause a bunch of conflict and whatever. But it's like, dude, the fact that like, I don't know, if I saw a CEO who's like in charge of the vision, kind of being sleazy, that's not a good look, dude.
These are two consenting adults. Let's just be
clear.
clear that they're also two, for all intents and purposes, it looks like two consenting adults participating in a consensual relationship. So, regardless of what our personal views are, exactly. We don't know the whole story, all this kind of stuff. But the clip going so viral because of the reaction is
what's even sadder to me is the daughter posting on social media that she's reconnecting to real life. Like, no, you're not. You're posting a video on TikTok.
Go to waste.
It's not real life. You don't have to address this on social media. Like, this is so deeply personal. It's such a sad state of affairs.
It's not good. It's not good for sure.
Ay.
No Coldplay concerts.
No Coldplay.
Yeah, seriously. Coldplay, get out of here.
Calling Coldplay out in the apology statement is wild behavior.
Oh, and I forgot, but then he closes the statement with a quote from a Coldplay song.
What is the line? Put it back up.
This is like one of those. This is one of those moments where like we are living in a simulation.
Yeah, this can't
It's
be real life, right?
This is 100% a video game that someone's playing.
Totally.
Go back to the Epstein files because that's still going on. No, I'm just kidding.
Talk about a simulation.
Are we going to talk?
Sorry,
What's
Gabe,
the lyric? Liz? What's the lyric in the statement? If we can pull it up one last time. Oh, a friend once sang. A friend once sang. He's calling Chris Martin his friend. Dude, what planet is this guy from? A friend once sang, "Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you." From the song "Fix You," which is I think it's a song about Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin's relationship. I think.
So the first
MTV with a deep Coldplay knowledge.
I'm a big audiophile. I love music, man. I love all music. Except death metal.
Dude,
MTV was at that concert.
I've seen.
He was in the
Have I seen
booth.
Coldplay live? No, I haven't seen Coldplay live. I was at the booth.
He's in the bag. Yeah.
I wish I was in the booth.
Music. You're like the dude. So there's a fight coming up this weekend.
Oh shit!
I'm sure
Max
you know all
Holloway,
about it.
Dustin Poirier this weekend.
Yeah,
if
dude,
you're not tuning into that,
you have a unique knowledge on like sports and entertainment that I this week. So that's the big fight, though, right?
yeah, this
We
week
talked
there's a
about last
UFC
week's
fight.
fight.
DC's out there promoting it nonstop. DC's also out there promoting the Train Hard 45 Challenge nonstop. I love it. But there's a Dustin Poirier's last fight, and I just saw the weigh-in, and he's crying during the weigh-in, his final weight cut, and he's fighting Max Holloway for the Banth title, the badass motherfucker title, I think it is, which is an interesting little wrinkle in the UFC's belt history that they do this. It would be cool, like, so the belt for the Banff is, I think, just largely determined by popularity, who gets to fight for that belt. There's been different people who have held it. I think Justin Gaethje held it, Max Holloway held it, a few other people hold it. But it would be really cool that if there was one belt to rule them all, like one, if they cut the divisions maybe in half and they said, below 185 there's a king, and above 185 there's a king, and you can fight for like the belt between weight classes, that would be really cool. That would be cool. Like if there was somebody
who's got a
like
fight coming up
the number
too
one.
is
Who's that?
Mason Fowler's got a fight for at the end of July for like a title. So for jiu-jitsu.
In UFC Jiu-Jitsu? UFC's Jiu-Jitsu division?
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. So stay tuned on
There's
that
a
one.
lot of there's a lot of jiu-jitsu news that has popped off recently. B Team is no more. B Team's dissolved. Craig Jones
So
is
B
going off
team.
on his own.
So whatever. So
Podcast's about to be
Craig
3
Jones.
hours long now because Jason is into the BJJ guys.
I don't know anything about it. I got to go look into it because Craig Jones is all about the B team, and but now he's off doing his own CGI and all this other stuff. So that's pretty much what happened, right? He just left.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Craig is doing some bigger stuff with his own competition and maybe doesn't want to run the gym anymore or do the B Team anymore. I don't know if there's any drama or not.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it sounds like we came to a consensus that exercise is not useless. It's very, very valuable, but it may in fact be useless when it comes to weight loss. Oh man, that was a good little riff back and forth, especially MDV coming in from the hot seat over there.
We can't all
Dennis,
agree
thanks
on everything all the time, man.
No, Dennis, thanks for bringing that book to the forefront. Before we close out, any kind of final remarks here, anything you guys want to bring up, aside from the fact that we have the best training programs on the planet and that they should join us on the Train Hard app? Okay.
I'm on
Well
day
said.
3 of asking strangers to do push-ups with me in public. So if I asked you to do a set of push-ups with me, let's go.
You have it pretty much made with your location. I mean,
Oh yeah, there's
that's
so
a
many people
perfect
doing fitness around here in Oceanside.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Gabe would have a really tough time finding a person to go to. Like,
Gabe would be asking the donkey, bro.
Just Ariel every day.
yeah. Yeah, well,
He's got the
Ariel,
setup for it, though.
Yeah, he does. He does. But supposedly Gabe's bringing a men's club to the Seguin,
right.
Texas area.
That is right. That is right.
let's
We
hear
got a
about
group coming together. First Sunday of every month. That's how we're going to start. Hammering out some details this weekend with owner of a local running shop because he hosts a run club out of it. So I think we're going to use a space that he uses for that. So yeah, I'm super excited. Shoot me an email, info@th.fit if you want to be added to like the more info list. But yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Taking inspiration from everything Jason's done and bringing it to Texas.
Hey, good news. So we had the podcast with F3 with Frank. If you guys didn't get a chance to listen to that one of my big takeaways for me was, the men's club shouldn't just be like the Jason Khalipa workout. And so this weekend, actually, Ahmed will be running it. We've had Justin run it before, but my intention is to get different guys to run it on a regular basis, even when I'm there. And one of the reasons why I think that's important is that people come for an experience, but typically that experience is like something I'm driving. And I think for longevity, I'm talking like years and years and years, it's important to have different guys be able to lead that. So that's what's on the agenda for us here in the Bay Area. If you guys want to come by, you could obviously, shoot me a message on DM or whatever, and we can add you to that. But Dennis, appreciate you. You have the best background on the planet. I hope you are making corporate deals and whatever you got going on with that background.
Yeah, shout out Colonel
MDV.
Hunter.
Colonel Hunter, I was about to say, thank you, Colonel Hunter, for your service, obviously.
Thank you, guys. And for everybody listening, make sure you guys check out the podcast show notes for our Train Hard app. We just reinstated the 1-week trial. You can go on there, go check out our different programs, and join in with us on the community section. Let's get it.